welcome back to my channel. This is Justina from Color Kaylee Crochet, and today I want to show you how to make this sunflower granny square cardigan. I'm very excited. I love sunflower granny squares and I love these colors. Okay, this is my notes. So let me give you a quick overview of the pattern. So first of all, we're gonna make the square, of course. Then we're gonna make a series of columns, which is the squares joined together in a line. So we're gonna make 4 columns of 5 or 6 squares for larger sizes. Then for the sleeves, we're gonna make 2 columns of 3, and for the hood, we're going to make 1 column of 4 squares joined together in a line. And then we're gonna make 2 front pieces, and we're gonna take these columns and add 1 row here, and this number depends on your size, so you're gonna add some rows on this side, and then we're gonna take another 2 columns and turn them into a back piece. So you're gonna have 2 rows and 2 here, so 4 in between, and then as you extend your back piece, this is the back piece here, this little bit that you're extending, and then you're gonna join with the front piece and join with the other front piece, and then we're going to make 2 sleeves, a hood, a seam, and add a border. So our beautiful granny squares have 4 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just a granny stitch, this is a bubble stitch, and this is like a cluster of trebles. So I'm using a 9mm hook and lime brand Manus Choice in burgundy, mustard, olive, and rust. We begin with burgundy, and let's chain 4. So my first yarn tail is going to be hidden in this ring, so I like to make it shorter, and chain 4. Now join with a slip stitch to the first chain. So you form the little ring, and now chain 3, and at this point I like to twist the tail around the ring so I can crochet over it. Now the first cluster is going to be a treble 2 together, because chain 3 counts as a treble, as a partial kind of treble that's going to form a cluster. So we're mimicking a treble 3 together. So we're gonna make treble 2 together next to the chain 3. So yarn over twice because it's a treble, and insert the hook into the ring and partially complete your first treble. Do not yarn over and pull through for the last time. Leave 1 hook on the loop, and then again yarn over twice, insert the hook into the ring, and do the same thing. And now you have 3 loops, and now you complete your first cluster. So this counts as a treble 3 together. Now your task is to make 11 more trebles 3 together, so that you have 12 in total. So yarn over twice, insert a hook into the ring, and partially complete your first treble, and then wait until you complete the other 2. So leave in 1 loop on the hook each time. So now you have these 3 partial trebles plus the loop you started with. So you yarn over and pull through all loops. So you have 2 clusters completed. So this is going to get a little bit crowded, but it's needed because these bubbles in the next round are gonna extend. I'm gonna want to make these gaps, so that these gaps are filled in. I designed these clusters so that you don't see the gaps. So go ahead and make, in this round, make 12 clusters in total. So you've made it around, and now let's count the clusters to make sure we have 12. You can either count these big stitches at the top, or a more reliable way to kind of push out each cluster. 1, 12. Okay, now I'm gonna change the color to mustard. Join with the slip stitch to the first treble 2 together cluster, to the first stitch. So I'm gonna use the magic knot to change the color so that I have no tails, but you can change color whichever way you like. I'll leave the link in the description below. So got rid of the tails. So I'm joining with a slip stitch to the first stitch, and we'll need to turn. So before I turn, I make sure I know which is my first gap between the two clusters. So this is the chain 3, so this is my gap where I'm gonna make my first bubble. So I kind of mark it with my finger so that I'm absolutely sure it's there. And now we're going to chain 3, and this counts as a first double crochet. So we've turned, you were facing the back side of your first round, and this is my knot from the color change and no tails. So I'm going to make the first bubble. The bubble in this pattern is double crochet 4 together. So make your first partial double crochet into the gap between the first two clusters. So yarn over and pull through once so that you have one loop for that double crochet left on the hook, and do it 3 more times. So you have 4 partial double crochets and the first loop that you started with, and now you can yarn over and pull through all loops and make another double crochet into the same space. So this is your first petal complete. That will be visible as a bubble on the other side. So now locate your next gap. So here's your cluster, and this is your gap. So make a double crochet 4 together, and a double crochet into this space. So now you have your 2 petals, and we're going to keep going around until we complete our second round, and we have 12 petals. So we made it around, and let's count that we have 12 petals. Okay, now I'm going to set the hook anywhere really, because the next round we're just concerned where the gaps are between the petals. Just insert the hook somewhere around the top of chain 3, and I'm going to change the color now. So after you've made your 12 petals, we're connecting with a slip stitch to the top of chain 3 or somewhere to the top of the first petal. So, and then we're turning. So we're facing the front now again. And this round is a simple granny stitch round. But in some of the gaps between the petals, we're going to make 2 clusters so that the circle becomes a square. So it will be this first gap between these 2 first petals that is going to be the space where we make 2 granny clusters. So chain 3 and make 2 double crochets into the space, and we're making a chain 1 for the corner and a cluster of 3 double crochets in the same space. So we made our first corner. Now we're going to make a cluster of 3 double crochets in the next space twice so that we have 2 clusters in between the corners. And now we are going to make another corner, so we're making the same sequence of 3 double crochets, chain 1 and 3 double crochets in the next space. So we're progressing around, and now we just have to repeat what we've done so far. So make 2 clusters here, then a corner here, 2 clusters here, a corner here, and 2 clusters here, and I'll see you at the bottom. So we made it around, and now I'm going to change the color, and we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of chain 3. And I'm going to insert the hook through both loops of the chain 3 because it looks more neat. Okay, so the last round 4, is in rust, and it's a similar round to what we've just done. So chain 3 and 2 double crochets in the same space below. So now into the corner we're going to make 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 double crochets, just like this corner was. So for the non-corner spaces like this, we're gonna make 3 double crochets in each space and 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 double crochets in corner spaces, and I'll see you at the end. If this is your first square, so go ahead and complete the round and join with the slip stitch to the top of chain 3. But if this is your second square, you're gonna want to join the squares into columns as instructed. So for example, I'm making a sleeve, so I need 3 squares joined together. So I'm leaving one side where I haven't finished the round, one full side where I'm gonna join with the other square. This side is not enough because I need to join here too. So once you make your first cluster in the corner, remove the hook from the loop and take your other granny square that you're joining with and insert the hook front to back through the corner space that you're going to join with. Pick up the loop, pull it up and chain 1 to secure it in place, and now complete this corner with another granny cluster. And each time you complete the cluster, you remove the hook from the loop and insert the hook through the next gap that you need to join with in between the clusters. Pick up the loop and pull it up and chain 1 again. And this is all you need to know how to join the squares. We are making another cluster here. So you made the cluster, remove the hook from the loop and insert the hook through the next space. So keep going and repeat this same sequence. So we're approaching the last time we want to join with this square. So we made our first cluster in this square, remove the hook from the loop, and we're going to insert the hook through the corner space and pick up the loose loop, pull it up and chain 1, and we're going to complete this corner and complete this round and join with a slip stitch to the top of chain 3, and I fastened off. This is my favorite way of joining granny squares. So we just made a column of 3, and now I'm going to show you how to make your first front piece. So if this is your front piece where you have connected 5 or 6 squares, face the front of your column and align it horizontally, and take your rest and leave a tail, of course, and make a slip knot on your hook. We're going to join this yarn in the top right corner. Insert the hook with a slip knot on your hook. Tuck the tail behind and pull up the new yarn through the square and through the initial loop. Chain 3. So this is row 1 of the additional rows that you will need to add to your squares to make various pieces for this cardigan. So make another double crochet in the same corner space, and now we're moving on to the next space. We're making 3 double crochets in the next space. Okay, so now we're making 3 double crochets in every space, which is these spaces as well. So here where the corner was of this square and the corner of this square, and keep going again. Granny cluster in each space and make 2 double crochets in the last space. So after you finished your row 1, if this is your front piece, you're going to fasten off after you made 2 double crochets in the last space, and then turn your piece around, still facing the front, align horizontally, join a new yarn in the top right corner, and begin making this block. So this number depends on your size. For my size medium, I need to make 5 rows here. So I'm going to show you row 2 of the repeat. You need to repeat rows 1 and 2 to make this extension. So after you made row 1, you are going to chain 3 and turn. So make 3 double crochets in the next space and make 3 double crochets in every space. And remember where we made 3 double crochets in the corners. So then you have this gap here. So of course don't forget to make 3 double crochets in between these two clusters. And to finish the row, you will make a double crochet to the top of chain 3. So after you've made a certain amount of rows for the front piece, you fasten off, and then you take another column of 5 or 6 squares and make another front piece, and then take another column again and make 2 rows on one side of one column. Then take the other column and make 1 row, and as you make the second row, join with the second row of this other column, just the way I showed you how to join the granny squares before. And then once you join them together, then you're going to extend on the other side where you did nothing, and make a certain amount of rows. It depends on your size. And as you make the last row, you will have to leave a few granny clusters unjoined for the armhole and for the side slits. And it is a good idea to take something like a safety pin and mark the top of your cardigan so you know which one is the armhole, which one is the side slit. And then once you complete joining with one of the front pieces, then you work on this side to extend it again so that you can join with the other front piece. And then we're gonna make the sleeves. This is my sleeve, and as you can see, it's a shaped sleeve. So I'm gonna show you all the different kinds of rows you need to make a shaped sleeve. So let's say I'm making a size 5x sleeve. So for the sleeve, take your 3 square column and face the front and align them horizontally and join new yarn in the top right corner. And then the instructions tell you to repeat rows 1 and 2 for a certain amount of rows, such as 3 or 5, until you have the required amount, and then proceed to row 3. Okay, row 3 is chain 1, turn, and single crochet in the same stitch. Now for different sizes, this step is slightly different. So for example, the instructions say for the next 9 or 10 granny clusters, including the 2 double crochet below, single crochet in every stitch. So I'm gonna follow the 5x size instructions, and I'm gonna single crochet in every stitch for the next 10 clusters. So I've single crocheted in every stitch for the first 10 granny clusters, including the 2 double crochet to begin with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So next we're making 3 half double crochets in the space below, and we're making 3 half double crochets in the next space, and then we are making 3 double crochets in the next space in every space, and end with a double crochet to the top of chain 3. Row 4 is chain 3 and turn, double crochet in the same space, and 3 double crochet in the next space and in every space until you have a certain amount of granny clusters. So for example, for size 5x, you need to make 5, including the 2 posts at the beginning. So I've made 5 as instructed for size 5x, 5 granny clusters in total, including the 2 double crochets at the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next, 3 half double crochets in the next space twice, and so I've made 3 half double crochets in the next space twice. It means the next space and the next space, and then a single crochet in the next space. This is so that we reduce the height from double crochet to half double crochet to single crochet and single crochet here as well. Row 5 is chain 1 and turn, skip the same stitch and the next stitch and single crochet in the next stitch. Now we arrive to this space, so we're making 3 half double crochets in the next space, in the same space below and the next space. And now we're zooming to 3 double crochets in the next space in every space and a double crochet to the top of chain 3. Row 6 is chain 3 and turn, double crochet in the same space, 3 double crochets in the next space twice, so the next space and the next space again, and 3 half double crochets in the next space twice, so this and this, and single crochet in the next space. So far I've showed you row 6. Now row 7 is chain 1, turn, skip the same stitch in the next stitch and single crochet in the next stitch, and 3 half double crochets in the space below and the next space, and now 3 double crochets in the next space twice and double crochet to the top of chain 3. We've made the sleeve for the 5x, and once you complete instructions for one side of the sleeve, then you turn it around and you flip it so that this time you're facing the opposite side from the first time. So if the first time you were looking at the front, now you're looking at the back and you're joining yarn in the top right corner and repeating the steps for your size to make the sleeve. We're on to making the hood. I think the hood is very cute with the flowers on your ears and it looks like a fairy hood. Okay, so the hood, step 6. So take your column of 4 squares that you made earlier and make one row on one side, and then this number will be different for your size. So make a block of rows on the other side facing the front again. So face the front, make one row, face the front, make these rows, and then as you make the last row, stop halfway through and start joining with fold your hood in half and start joining with the other half as you complete the last row. So this is my hood. I've already added one row on one side and I've made the last row halfway through, and I know this halfway through because these are the 2 middle squares and this is my halfway point. So the next cluster is going to be the first cluster of the second half, so I'm gonna make it, and now I'm gonna fold the hood into half and remove the hook from the loop. Now my halfway point is in between the clusters, so here, and the next time I want to join is my very first space. So you have this mirror image cluster on the other side. This is the halfway point, this is your cluster on the other side, and this is the first space where you want to join. So insert your hook back to front and pick up the loose loop and pull it up and chain 1, and this is still your halfway point, so you're on the right track. If your halfway point was the post in the middle, so you would be folding here so that this post is in the middle, and you would be joining here with this space, but I am joining with this space. Now I'm going to continue just like before. I'm going to make a cluster in the next space. Each time I make a cluster, I remove the hook from the loop and I take a look at where my next space is on the other side of what I'm joining with, and I'm inserting the hook back to front and picking up the loop, pulling it up and chaining 1, and that's how I'm going to join my hood as I complete this row. So this is my hood when it's all joined, and later I'm gonna add a border here, and this is where I joined. make the border. So it's a simple shell shape border. Join new yarn like before, like I showed you. I recommend you begin with a granny square, so somewhere in between the clusters, join new yarn and then go straight into yarning over and locating your first stitch in the 3 granny stitches. So the first double crochet is this one. So we're making double crochet for every double crochet in the cluster, and then in between the clusters we're making a slip stitch, and again we're making 3 double crochets in the next 3 stitches, 1 per each double crochet in the cluster. So what do you do when you run out of granny clusters in the granny square? So you should make a slip stitch in the corner space, and then when these side rows begin where you have your posts at the end of the row, we will make 3 double crochets in the space behind the last post, and when it comes to the next row we'll make a slip stitch behind the post of the next row. And we're moving on to the next row where we're making 3 double crochets behind the last post of the next row and a slip stitch behind the next post. And when you come to the corner, just make 3 double crochets behind that post in the corner, and then your corners will look like that. And now we see our granny cluster, so we know we'll be making 3 double crochets there, and why don't we make a slip stitch just before the granny cluster and the 3 double crochets, and from here you know what to do for now. And when it comes to the side slit, when you're crocheting up where the side slit is, so you will have our granny cluster, and then when it comes to your slip stitch, I think it helps to keep the side slit a bit more closed if you place the slip stitch not in this space, not in this space, but in the space on the other side. So place your slip stitch on in the space just before the next granny cluster you're gonna crochet into, and continue as usual. So that's it. I hope you enjoy making this cardigan and have fun with your sunflowers, and see you next time.